Hey, it's Andrew Morgan, host of the Nomcast, the Netflix original movie podcast. Each week, we review the biggest Netflix original movies with special guests from the film industry, the music industry, comedians, and of course, our fellow podcasters. Check us out on the web at nomcastpod.com. Follow us on the socials at nomcastpod. And most importantly, listen and subscribe to us wherever you get podcasts. Hit that beat one time.
Hi, I'm Mike,
And I'm Elise,
host of Crackin' One Open with Mike and Elise.
a podcast about brews, news, and pop culture reviews.
Every Friday, we choose a new craft beer from a different brewery and talk about
The history of the beer,
what's in it,
how it was made,
the history of the brewery.
along with tasting notes and more fun facts.
After that, come chill with us as we bring you the latest in pop culture news and reviews.
So check out Kraken When Open, part of the Forgotten Entertainment family.
Ladies and gentlemen, please notice that exits are conveniently located at the front and rear of this auditorium. When leaving the theater, we suggest that the exit at the front of the auditorium will allow you easier access to the parking areas. Thank you.
Boom!
I guess I like sports movies.
Yeah, like real creepy like. Did you notice him with his pants down?
Oh, with his pants down?
Yeah.
I just noticed somebody was there.
Yeah. No, his pants are down.
He's taking it down?
And I'm thinking to myself, I want to do the secret cabal stuff. I don't want to just go and drink.
You still got to wear a cloak and stuff.
No. I want the real cabal stuff. Like I want the stuff where we're controlling the world.
I want the signet ring.
You know what? Screw that. Hi, I'm Mike Field,
And I'm Mike Butler.
and you're listening to the Forgotten Cinema Podcast. Each episode, we highlight a film that, for a variety of reasons, was forgotten by audiences. Whether it's because a more popular movie was released at the same time, or the movie simply didn't catch on with an audience in its initial run. We'll discuss what we love about the movie, or perhaps don't love about it, but we'll always recommend you revisit it. If you enjoy our podcast, please feel free to rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening to this podcast right now. What's up?
Nothing. What's going on with you?
Just starting some season 7 stuff.
Ooh.
It's Happy November Day here.
It's
As-
85 degrees outside.
Yes, it's the worst kept secret in the world is to record ahead of time. So, but you're listening to this in November. Thanksgiving's just around the corner. We're all probably home distance learning. You know how it
I
is.
can smell that stuffing already.
Exactly. The election's coming up, right? Is everyone excited for insert name here?
You leave politics out of here.
I'm just saying, I'm just trying to be like what's in the now when people listen to this episode.
How about that Corona, too?
Whoa. Is that we're talking about the beer?
This is a sequel.
All right. So, Mike, why don't you let everybody know what our first movie is for season 7 and what's it about?
All right. Today, we are talking about the 1974 Jack Lemmon, Walter Matthau movie, The Front Page, directed by Billy Wilder. And here is the best synopsis.
I'd like to remind you that you're starting to dive into the facts section or the facts portion of the show, and that's my section. So just watch yourself.
You came to the wrong town, buddy. When Hill D. Johnson, top reporter of a Chicago newspaper, announces that he is quitting to get married, his editor, Walter Burns, desperately tries to change his mind. When denial, cursing, and luring don't work, Walter resorts to tricks. It's the day before a supposed communist is to be hanged, and all of Chicago waits with bated breath. Meanwhile, each of the papers has a man on the story trying to get a scoop or angle for themselves. With a train to catch at midnight to join his fiancée, Hildy is at first not interested, but events and his own habits work against him as the day unfolds, and he can't help but get roped in, especially when the man to be executed escapes and then almost literally falls into his lap.
Ooh, almost literally. All right, so The Front Page came out on Wednesday, December 18th, 1974. It was a runtime of 105 minutes. It's rated PG. It's a hard PG, which I like.
Mm-hmm.
Production budget of $4 million. It's worldwide gross, basically. It made $15 million, although they do throw a figure in there that it made $7 million in theater rentals, which is theaters will rent out the copy of the movie to play. That's how they use, so they kind of still do it that way now. Production company was Universal Pictures and was distributed by Universal Pictures. Now, we've done older movies before, and so the box office weekend for older movies is not as it is now. You're not going to have a bunch of movies that come out at the same time.
Right.
So bear with me because I have a ton of movies I'm going to go through that came out all in the month of the 2 weeks in November and then all in the month of December. And as I'm going through these movies, just think about all these movies that are out at the same time. All right. So this movie came out on the 18th. Now you had on December 9th, you had Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. That's a Martin Scorsese film. On the 12th of December, you had The Godfather Part 2. The 14th was Towering Inferno. The 15th was Young Frankenstein. The 18th, which is the same day as this one, is The Man with the Golden Gun. And then after that, you had Black Christmas on the 20th. And then in November, you had Earthquake on the 15th and November 15th, and then Murder on the Orient Express on the 24th. That is the Albert Finney murder on the Orient Express. So you have a huge, right? There is a huge list of movies here that are all watchable, that are watched today.
Right.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That is a big time in I guess box office in 1974. There's so many good movies out. Now, you could say what you want about Earthquake and Towering Inferno. In terms of quality of like, oh, those aren't that great of a movie, quote unquote, but those are spectacles to go to. Those are events.
Right.
Towering Inferno is a major event. There are so many people in that movie. The Godfather Part 2 is, I mean, come on here.
That's Godfather Part 2.
So, and I got a little James Bond in there for you.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome.
Although The Man with the Golden Gun.
It's not about
The Golden Gun is iconic.
Remember. Oh, no, I got you.
But in terms of Roger Moore movies, that's actually probably one of the better ones.
We have to, but think of it like this too. It's just the anticipation of these movies coming out.
Oh,
So
for sure.
Exactly. So they're busy because everyone's been wanting to see them.
But this is what I like about the delay for No Time to Die is it's a November release where you can see even back in the Roger Moore days, James Bond's come out in November. I don't know why they were thinking let's put it out in March.
If it even comes out in November,
If
but which is going to be in a couple weeks, right? From this episode.
From this episode, like a week and a half.
Yeah.
I know
Well,
they pushed it.
at this point, you either already know it's been pushed or whatever.
You're gonna hear a ding
Duh,
saying,
and
"Hey
which-
guys,
the dings are very
2022."
the dings
now."
are very obnoxious. You need to lower those dings.
Shit, not the boss of me. Hey guys, anyway, as you all should know by now, No Time to Die is not coming out in November, but instead April 2nd, 2021, unless you're listening to this episode after April 2021 and now know that it's probably November 2021 or 2022. Who knows?
Mike said that this was directed by Billy Wilder. He also wrote it along with IAL Diamond. Now, as we go through this list, I want you to be prepared because here come the Oscar awards and here come the Oscar nominations. Okay, for most of the people involved here. So Billy Wilder, if you don't know already, it's a pretty big deal. I mean, I would hope you would know, to the point where I actually watched a movie that he did, the first movie that they all worked together, The Fortune Cookie with Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau and Billy Wilder.
Okay, I've never seen it. I know of it, but I've never seen it.
I watched that yesterday because I haven't watched a lot of, I haven't watched as many Billy Wilder movies as I want to. But anyways, he's been nominated 23 times for Oscars. He's won 6. He won the Oscar for Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Original Screenplay for the movie The Apartment, which also stars Jack Lemmon. He won Best Story and Screenplay for the 1953 movie Sunset Boulevard, which I think is about to be remade, which is a very good movie. And he won Best Director and Best Adapted Screenplay for the 1946 movie The Lost Weekend. Some other movies that he's done Some Like It Hot, Witness for the Prosecution, Style Like 17, Double Indemnity, and Sabrina. Not the Harrison Ford one, the one that's Harrison Ford one's based on. But I'm just like, you have probably heard these movies before, and people have probably told you, wow, those movies are pretty good. I would recommend, if there's anything I can recommend for you right now, is try to watch Billy Wilder movies because they're really, really good.
I think I would hope that most people who are into film have seen at least Some Like It Hot at this point.
I
would hope.
Like I've seen Style Like 17. I've seen Double Indemnity.
I've not seen Style Like 17.
Really?
I've seen Double Indemnity.
Then Double Indemnity. I want to see it again, but it's good. It's a good movie. All right. So he wrote this movie with, like I said before, IAL Diamond. And he's actually his writing partner. I should have wrote the other guys. He has 2 writing partners. This is the other writing partner. Diamond also co-wrote The Apartment, so he won an Oscar for that. He's also written a movie called Cactus Flower and Monkey Business. Now, Cactus Flower has the dubious, I guess, I don't know. It's what would the word I'd be looking for? Maybe you didn't know this, but the movie Just Go With It that Adam Sandler's in with that's basically Cactus Flower. That's based on that. So it's funny when you think of that and you're like, okay. This is based on a play now that is written by Ben Hecht and Charles MacArthur. Now, Ben Hecht has won 2 Oscars, one for the movie The Underworld and one for the movie The Scoundrel, who he wrote with MacArthur. So obviously MacArthur won the Oscar there too. He's been nominated for the Alfred Hitchcock movie Notorious, Angels Over Broadway, Wuthering Heights, and Viva Villa. MacArthur has written Most of MacArthur's stuff is uncredited, but just some of the uncredited rights that he had Freaks, Angels with Dirty Faces, and he has a story credit for Gunga Din, but it's also uncredited. They also wrote a play called two plays, Ladies and Gentlemen, which was made into the movie called Perfect Strangers, and then 20th Century, which was also made into a movie of another name. But they wrote the play of The Front Page, which was in 1928, right? Did I say that right? Yes, they wrote the play in 1928. If Mike's description of The Front Page sounds familiar to you, it might be because you saw the movie called His Girl Friday, which came out in 1940 with Cary Grant, which is basically the same. It's the same story, except the Hildy character that Jack Lemmon plays is actually his ex-wife, and it's like a romantic drama comedy, but it's the same idea. They're there. He's there as a reporter. His Girl Friday is pretty famous, so this is like this play has been remade a couple times because there's also a 1931 movie as The Front Page as well. But yeah, so it's a big deal, I guess. Is
Right.
what's the word what I'm trying to say here. Cinematography by Jordan Cronenweth. He had done Altered States. He did Blade Runner, Mr. Butler. He also was nominated. He was also
I do
nominated
like Blade Runner. That's
for-
why he said that.
He was nominated for an Oscar for the movie Peggy Sue Got Married, which is with Nicolas Cage and Kathleen Turner, directed by Coppola, right? Francis Ford Coppola directed that.
Yes.
Produced by Paul. You give me the look like you did. Produced by Paul Monash and Jennings Lang. Now, Paul Monash has produced Big Trouble in Little China, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, Slaughterhouse-5, and Carrie. Jennings Lang has produced all the airports, Airport 75, 77, 79. Well, the 79 one's called The Concorde. And then High Plains Drifter, among other things. Edited by Ralph E. Winters. Winters won the Oscar for editing for Ben-Hur. Was nominated for Quo Vadis, or Vadis. I'm sorry, I've said that wrong. Nominated for Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, The Great Race, and Koch. Koch is a movie that Walter Matthau stars in that he was nominated for an Oscar, but it was directed by Jack Lemmon. I really like when we do the older movies because there's really a lot of connections I like seeing here. And
There's a connection between Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon. What?
This is the third of 11 films they did, Butler. So I don't usually put these in terms of behind the scenes stuff, but I wanted to because it's my big part of the movie that I really like is the set.
Mm-hmm.
So the set decorator is James W. Payne, and he won the Oscar for The Sting. He was nominated for Come Blow Your Horn, the Oscar, and he also did Slapshot. And then the art director was Henry Bumstead. He also won the Oscar for The Sting. He also won an Oscar for To Kill a Mockingbird. And he was nominated for Vertigo and Unforgiven, the 1982 Unforgiven. That was it. I just wanted to throw that out there. All right. So you have Jack Lemmon as Hildy Johnson. I really hope people know who Jack Lemmon is. If you don't, you really should go back to watch a lot of his older stuff because he is. I'm going to start. Well, when we get into the movie, I'm just going to start praising Jack Lemmon, probably, which I'm okay with. Lemmon has been nominated for 8 Oscars and he won 2. He won for Save the Tiger and Mr. Roberts. He's also, you probably know him from Grumpy Old Men, but he is awesome in Glengarry Glen Ross. I suggest you check that movie out. Walter Matthau.
Coffees for closers.
Awesome. Walter Matthau plays Walter Burns. He won the Oscar for The Fortune Cookie. He was nominated for The Sunshine Boys, Koch, and he also was in Mike, an episode we did.
Oh,
come on. King Creole, Mike.
King Creole.
Wow.
I couldn't remember the name.
Wow. So
I remember the scene.
we have a young Susan Sarandon as Peggy Grant. She won the Oscar for Dead Man Walking. Great movie. She was also in The Client, Lorenzo's Oil, Thelma and Louise, and Atlantic City, where she was nominated in all those movies that I just said. Vincent Gardenia plays the sheriff. He was nominated for Oscar for Moonstruck, very funny movie, and also Bang the Drum Slowly. He is also in The Death Wish and Little Shop. Not The Death Wish. Death Wish and Little Shop of Horrors. Gardenia is a big. A lot of these people are big on the stage, so you may not have seen. They might be in movies here and there, but they made a lot of their bones on the stage and are known for their stage work. Austin Pendleton plays Earl Williams. He's from My Cousin Vinny, A Beautiful Mind, The Muppet Movie, and Short Circuit. Harold Gould plays the mayor. He's in The Sting. He's in the TV show The Golden Girls, which I know because he's the one that was dating Rose. And then that's right. He's also in Silent Movie and Patch Adams. And I've got another Golden Girls one coming up too. David Wayne as Benzinger. He's from The Andromeda Strain, Adam's Rib, How to Marry a Millionaire. Alan Garfield as Kruger from Beverly Hills Cop 2, The Majestic, and Nashville. Charles Durning as Murphy, who's nominated for an Oscar for The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas and To Be or Not to Be. He's also in The Hudsucker Proxy, Tootsie, and Dog Day Afternoon. Herb Edelman as Schwartz. He's Dorothy's husband and the ex-husband in the Golden Girls TV show. I mean, quite honestly, the show's awesome. He's also in The Odd Couple and Barefoot in the Park. You have Dick O'Neill as McHugh from The Taking of Pelham 123, The Jerk, and Mosquito Coast. And then you have two more. Doro Morandi as Jenny. She's in Our Town, The Man with the Golden Arm, and The Whistle at Eaton Falls. And I could be remiss without mentioning that Carol Burnett is in this movie. She plays Molly Malloy, and you might know her from the Carol Burnett Show. She's also in Annie and the Four Seasons. All right, Butler. I've got tons of other facts that I can go through, and then I'll probably, because I've already forgotten a bunch of them. This movie was nominated for 3 Golden Globes. Just give you that little right there. And you know what? Let's just go into the movie because I'll just pepper in all this stuff.
I was gonna say that's our show, everybody. Good night.
No, I mean seriously, I've got a ton of other facts here, but if I can get to them, I will. If not, I don't want to just bog it down with facts. You had never seen this movie.
Nope.
I have seen this movie.
Good for you.
I like this movie. Do you like this movie?
No, I'm just kidding. I really, really like this movie. I was going into it expecting to like at least the performances of Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau because, I mean,
yeah,
Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau.
Yeah.
But right from the start of the movie, I just loved how it opened. I loved the set. I love the lighting. I love the acting. I love the dialogue. Although there are a couple of parts where the dialogue gets a little too stagey. But I'm sure we'll get to it.
Well, it's a play.
Yeah, but that doesn't always fit in a movie. I found myself laughing. I thought it was awesome. I thought the whole movie was great.
Excellent.
I really, really, really enjoyed it.
Excellent. Yeah, I think because the wordsmith in me I really don't have a problem when a play is put on screen. I mean, I know that you want to make it more of a movie, so you want to move locations and all that stuff. But when they're in the press room and they're playing cards and it all plays out, that stuff is just that's what I'm there for. I'm there for that. I don't care if we're in a location for 45 minutes of the movie and we're working within the location.
Oh no, that's
because it's just so and here we go. Jack Lemmon is so smooth with going from emotion to emotion, from dialogue to dialogue. The jumps that he makes are so like effortless, and I'm sure it's not. I'm sure it's a lot of effort on his part, or it was on his part. He's obviously passed away, but it's just such a joy to watch him, and especially obviously him and Matthau together. They're just so at ease, and it's nothing ever feels forced. I don't know how you feel there.
No, that's why they made 11 films.
Well, plus they're friends.
Yeah, it's just their chemistry together, whether they're best friends, enemies, coworkers, it doesn't matter.
Right.
It's always amazing, and that effortlessness you say.
Yeah,
I think that helps in a movie like this where you come in at the end of their career together,
right?
Essentially, but you immediately feel that they've been working together forever as these characters, as Hildy and Burns.
Mm-hmm.
That's just like perfect.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as Hildy walks through the door, you don't have to worry about working very hard to establish this connection.
Mm-hmm.
When Hildy comes in and he prances through and he waves that
the cane in the beginning,
cane, and he's just so like walking through everything. He comes in, he starts talking to Matthau. He sits down like, oh man, Jack Lemmon, like that's acting right there. That is amazing.
Right. There's not, because I don't. They're so good, and I'm wondering if you can you find a comparable duo in today's movie world? Like, here's the thing, and we talk about this a lot, and I'm glad you like this movie because I had an idea you would like it, because I said to you, you being an actor, you being someone who's on stage, I think you would appreciate it a lot more.
Oh yeah.
What's funny is as I got older, and you start writing, and I'm not saying like in the last 2 years, I'm saying over the last couple decades, just writing and watching stuff and seeing people perform, and we've talked about it already. There is such an accomplishment and there's such a sense of confidence with theater actors that come onto the screen where they know what they're doing, you know, compared to somebody who is just strictly film, compared to somebody who is all they know is film and all they know is how to act on film, and they don't know how to act in front of an audience for 2 straight hours without having the luxury of another take. You know, there's something that is really just, you just feel like you're going to watch something that is going to be good when you see that. You know what I mean? I think we talked about we talked about before, to get off the front page a little bit. I know we talked about it one of the episodes. We talked about Jake Gyllenhaal, how he did Moonlight Mile with Dustin Hoffman,
and he told him to go.
And he said, what should he say? Go do stage, and he did. And when ever since he's come back from that, you can just tell that there's a confidence in his acting, whether you like the movie or not. I'm not saying that, and I know everyone's probably thinking about Spider-Man: Far From Home, But what I'm saying is that his performances are just more. The best word I can use is confident. You know what I mean?
The choices he makes now, he's less concerned about, I don't know, being this pretty boy on stage or just hitting his marks or whatever. Like, what's the movie he did where he was the night reporter or whatever?
Oh, Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler. I really didn't care for Nightcrawler that much, but he is fantastic in Nightcrawler.
Yeah,
he is absolutely amazing, and that's something after he did stage, because the commitment to his character shows through in there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something you get with that stage acting is when you do film, the director can only spend so much time with you.
Yep.
Because you don't have the luxury of being on stage and rehearsals and rehearsals and rehearsals, and then the director's going to go talk to the set guy. No, he's talking to the set guy while talking to you, while talking to the lighting guy, while doing this. And like you said, as a film director, if you do a good take, you're just not going to give notes. You just be like, that was good, let's go.
Mm-hmm.
But a stage director, good or not good, he's still going to talk to you about your notes, tell you what worked, talk to you about that character, and really
that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing on stage directing. All you're working on is character.
Right.
That's all. Sure, blocking and where things are going to go, where you should be. That's secondary almost, but you're focused on your character because that's the biggest thing you're showing everywhere. Yeah.
And as an actor, then like you said, you're 2 hours on stage, sometimes like 3.
Yeah.
And you have to commit to your character. You have to be true and in the moment, because if you're not, you're going to forget your lines. You're going to forget your blocking. You're going to screw one person up, which is going to screw something, and that's a domino effect. You can't call cut and redo.
Right.
And that kind of commitment to character shines through with all stage actors who go, 90% of stage actors who go onto camera. Some of them then can't really perform in front of camera.
But that's fine.
Are stagey,
you know what? And I guess
still,
yeah,
that commitment to character can't be beat in terms of stage work.
I think I have a little bit more of a regard for somebody who does stage work than I do for somebody who does film. I mean, there are obviously great performances in film, and people do fantastic acting in film. I'm not knocking any of that, but I just think that I always hold a little bit higher when I see somebody on stage performing. It's a different type of performance. It's not. It's more outward,
right?
But that's all understandable. But the people that can go back and forth from it are fantastic. But even if somebody knows that, I'm more of a stage person. When we did I watched Revolution.
Okay.
And I told you that that was the movie. This is an Al Pacino in Revolutionary War movie.
They all remember our quote.
It was the movie that made him quit, take a break from acting to return to the stage. But that I understand that. I get that that's a bold choice, but that's a great, that's still a great choice.
Yeah.
Side note, one of the notes in IMDb for Revolution is this movie's about the Revolutionary War. Really? Really? Anyways. All right. So yeah, I don't want this movie to why don't you go to your negatives? Because this movie's we're gonna just talk about how much we like this movie. But give me something because you said you didn't like some of the dialogue. So I'm curious what and I've got some quotes here about the making of the movie, because it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, I guess.
Okay.
So but go to something that maybe jumped out at you that you didn't like in terms of dialogue or didn't fit, I guess.
Carol Burnett as Molly, she has this speech when she first visits the press room.
Yep.
She enters and she has her big speech about how the press are all dogs, and they're lying about saying that, Earl went to her and proposed to her and they were together, and she was going to marry him on death row no matter what, even after he's declared dead or whatever. And it was all lies, and they're tarnishing her name and the name of Earl, who's a sweet kid.
Is that when the guy tells her the quote when he's like, put it on a Victrola record?
Yep. But it's just like when she does that, she enters and she walks around the table and she makes this big speech. It's so grandiose, and it's a little too big and it's a little too wordy that it does come across less as conversational, less real, I feel. It just feels too stagey, and that's fine if that's how it was written for the stage, but I feel like it could have been done a little differently or toned down.
Well, that's not
it's really monologue-y.
Your comment is not unknown. That is one of the comments about the movie.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that she's in a different movie. They've given her speech in this movie is for a melodrama, and everybody, and it's not her fault. Everyone in the movie is doing comedy, and she's there to do the melodrama and the emotion to make you feel for Earl Williams, and it looks out of place. So it shines a light on it, like, wow, she's not. Everyone else here is having a good time, and she is not.
Right.
to the point where there's a story where she was on a plane and they ran the movie because she was not happy with her performance, and neither were critics. And so they ran the movie, and after the movie, she turned around the entire plane and apologized for her performance, which is fine.
I don't think
but
Carol Burnett has to apologize.
she
for
doesn't,
anything.
but she's in
Carol
a
Burnett.
she's in a different movie, and that's not her fault. We've talked about it before. Making a movie takes a village. It's not just one person.
Right.
All that stuff.
I don't think it's her perform. It is kind of her performance. But the director Billy Wilder let it happen.
No, I hear you. No, I get you.
Yeah, it's just I didn't, and I understand that there's supposed to be some emotion. This guy's on death row. They're real reporters. There is some drama. It's not a straight up comedy, but that outburst. Like I was okay with the second time she comes in too, and she's trying to hide her and she jumps out the window.
Yeah.
I didn't think that was as grandiose and stagey as that monologue.
Well, the monologue is meant, I think, for you to feel for Earl to understand that, and also to get exposition.
It does
out.
get a lot of exposition
Yeah.
out, but I think it could have been handled a little better. Maybe done a little bit more
Mhm.
cut up, more dialogue between. Maybe have the reporters not go from instant vitriol, but maybe an annoyance
Yeah.
to that.
Mhm.
But it's just instantly just overacting, and it really pulled me out of the movie for that one scene. But then it mellowed out again, and I was like, okay, now we're back.
Mhm.
That was really one of my only big
negatives.
negatives to it. Was just that I was like, okay.
I didn't have any problems with the movie. I mean, that did stand out. Didn't bother me. I like seeing Carol Burnett, so that didn't bother me.
Mhm.
So Jack Lemmon said that this is a quote. I had one regret about the film. Billy would not let us overlap our lines more. I think that we would have made it better. I feel it's a piece in which you must overlap, but Billy, the writer, wanted to hear all the words clearly, and he wanted the audience to hear the words. I would have liked to overlap to the point where you lost some of the dialogue. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I understand that regret. Wilder has a quote where he goes, I'm against remakes in general. Obviously, this one's a remake. Because if a picture is good, you shouldn't remake it. And if it's lousy, why remake it? It was not one of my pictures I was particularly proud of. So that was in his biography or something like that, or he said it to his biographer.
Interesting.
Pendleton, who played Earl Williams, claims that Matthau, Lemmon, and Wilder didn't get along while filming, and they vowed they'd never work again. But 7 years later, they did buddy buddy. So, I mean, we take that for what it is. So It wasn't all like, oh my God, this is a great experience. Yeah, behind the scene, probably.
Well, when you have all those big names, sometimes, like we've talked about it before, you get all these big personalities, you're going to clash a little bit. But
Right.
sometimes that makes for a really good film.
Right.
Everyone tries to one up each other, bring their best to prove that they're right.
But Matthau is such a jerk in this movie. Like he's not even someone like, I know what you need, Hildy. He's just such a jerk. He doesn't want to lose Hildy.
One of my notes in this is that he would make the perfect Perry White in like a Superman movie.
Oh yeah.
I never thought about him being like this newspaper guy, but like I was like watching him like, yeah, that's what I want.
When he's on the phone when he goes to the prison and he's on the phone with the other guy, and he's like, screw your diabetes. And he's and then he's
This
like,
is what I get for getting somebody with a disease.
yeah, I know. It's like ever hiring someone with a disease. It's like, that's just he's so mean, but it's so awesome. I mean, and how he basically cons Benzinger to write his poem because he doesn't want to get him to the roll top desk. He's like, yeah, I'm sending a guy over to you from the Tribune or whatever it was, from the Post, and like tell him his poem sucks and kick him down the stairs.
No matter how good it is, tell him it's garbage. Tell him it's trash. I also love when he goes to visit Susan Sarandon, and he goes in as the cop.
Yeah.
So it's those poor teenage girls. They didn't need to see that. What was he wearing under the raincoat? His underwear and socks.
Which I want to talk about the language in it. Now, it's not bad, but they say the shit, they say bitch, they say a bunch of different words, and I'm like thinking to myself, this is a PG movie.
Pre-Temple of Doom.
No, I get it. I'm fine. I was fine with it. It's really, I mean, it's a 74 movie, so you're really kind of surprised to hear that back then, I guess. I don't know how audiences responded to that.
The 74 is, it's a little bit later at that point. You're getting
True.
into the times of like French Connection and stuff like that.
Yeah, I guess.
I think it seems a little more shocking because the movie's actually set in 1929.
True.
So then you have this older aesthetic, which makes it seem like, wow, they're really dark with it. I like the lighting a lot because I didn't think the lighting was representative of most ways that films from 1974 are lit. It looked like a film that was lit from like the early 80s.
Mhm.
I really enjoyed the lighting in, especially the press room. I was very impressed.
Well, so it's the set. So it's you got set light in there,
You
but
got the set light,
it's
but
also
you've also got
smoky a little. It's a little smoky.
smoky lights. You've got these little point lights that reflect on certain things in the room, which I couldn't tell where the point lights were coming from, but they beamed this white light on certain objects that gave it this real quality that you don't see in a lot of sets from the early 70s or 60s.
Do you think that the gallows was a set, or do you think that was a real location? Because it's always looking down.
Could have been a backlot.
Yeah,
I felt like it was a backlot. Although I do like that opening. Can you keep it down up here? We're trying to do some work. And the cop stops everything and then slowly looks up and goes, "Screw you!" And then gets back to work. I was like, all right, I like this kind of movie.
With the exception of when they shoot up the Daughters of the American Revolution, I think that was what it was.
Yeah.
When they shoot that up and they're like, no one heard except the deaf janitor.
Oh my God, those lines were so great. One of my favorite ones was, one of the women nearby gave birth to a premature 5.5-pound baby boy. Police examined it to make sure it wasn't Earl Williams.
But with the exception of that, and when that scene, when they shoot up the place, and when they're obviously driving, when they keep saying there's Earl Williams here, and they keep turning around.
Yeah.
I think everything else must have been on a set. Maybe the courthouse steps when he was first at the steps, when she drops off the taxi.
Mm-hmm.
They shot in L.A. Well,
they shot in an opera house too.
True. Yes.
Because that's where you first meet Susan Sarandon's Peggy.
Right. So I don't. But everything other than that, I think everything else is a set.
Yeah. One of the notes I had, which it didn't take me out of the movie, I just noticed it because I was looking for it. When the police cars are driving down the street is decidedly 1970s.
Of course.
They didn't dress the street at all.
But
they
you
just
don't
dressed
care.
The cars. No, yeah, I didn't care. I was just like, that's a 70s convenience store right there with all its ads and stuff.
Yeah.
Also, Jack Lemmon, I just want to point this out because I don't know if we're going to talk about his ad agency job, Hildy's ad agency job he's going to get. His $129 a week.
Yeah.
In 1929, would have been $2,254.16 a week.
Now, but that doesn't
That's a lot of money.
Of course, that's why he's taking it. I would have taken it too. Where's the first stop? Can I tell him to arrest Hildy Johnson? Son of a bitch stole my watch. That line is from the play. This is the only movie of all the remakes that has that line. Like his Girl Friday doesn't, the original front page doesn't. This is the only one. That's a great last line, and this is the only one that uses it.
Oh, because they wanted all the other ones wanted to end on more of a positive note.
I'm sure. I don't know, because I mean that's the best thing. One of the best things about the Walter character, it's Walter Matthau, but it's Walter Burns, is that he is a dick to the end. You know what I mean? He is the same. He doesn't like, oh, I feel bad. It's not. You don't see that. The white light come down in the shed, and he's like all like beautiful looking. I care. I want you guys to be together. No, he is a dick till the end, which as he should be. I love the Rudy Kepler character is just for this movie. He was not in the play.
Okay,
but I loved the postscript about him and Benzinger opening up an antique shop in Maine. I thought that was awesome. But I didn't get the fact because when I was reading the notes, I did not get that when he takes him to the bathroom to mend his bloody nose.
Yeah.
That's when he seduces him. Like that was one of the notes.
Really?
Like that's when he seduces him. But I didn't get that. I was like, I wish I kind of noticed that if they were in the background, just kind of seeing, because there's a moment when they're all singing
and he puts his hand on his
back. He brings him the
yeah.
drink and so, but you knew that was coming. I just thought that was great, but I wanted to see if I could see that moment after the fact. They went to the bathroom to see if like things changed between them in the background, but I never caught it. And that's it. No.
He's got his nice soft pink toilet paper.
That's right. That's from the opening. Because they live there. They basically, I guess they're there the whole time.
Yeah. Make sure they get all the news for the execution and all that.
I love the disregard for prohibition. When he's just like, I'm going to tell the prosecuting attorney. Is like, well, you better not. I bought that from his brother.
Yeah.
I love that. It's just it's Chicago, number one. So it's no one's paying attention. It's just, I just love the fact that, oh my God, prohibition. Everyone was flaunting. Who cares?
Yeah.
Nobody cared.
All they did was create the mafia.
So let me ask you this then. Because I think I know who I would suggest this film to. Who would you suggest people to watch this film? Like, not everybody, obviously.
Are we already wrapping up the podcast?
Am I? No, I'm just.
Okay, because this is usually
That's
our
usually
last
the
question.
end?
Okay.
All right, good.
That's fine, though.
You got more?
We're only at 30 minutes.
Okay, go ahead. Talk about more. I was asking. I
thought you were trying to wrap
No,
up
I'm
the
not
podcast.
wrapping it up.
Okay.
I'm not wrapping it up.
I would
Jeez.
I would recommend this to anyone who likes acting, anyone who's interested in acting, this is something they should show for drama students. This is perfect because you can show how what you're learning, because a lot of drama students today don't learn a lot about film acting.
Sure.
There's maybe in one acting class 1 or 2 days worth of classes where you learn film, and then that's it. Then okay, you're done. This is perfect to say. Here's
Hold on. What? Really?
Yeah, they don't. It's like, all right, here's film acting.
Well, what? That makes no sense. That's that's your major. Isn't that what it is?
It's mostly just stage acting or acting in general.
Oh, okay,
Just
okay.
Like that's like 1 or 2 days, 1 or 2 classes we'll go over, and here's what makes it different from film.
Okay.
But this is the perfect example where drama teacher can be like, this is why we're teaching you stage acting.
Yeah.
Everything we're teaching you can do on film. You tone it down a little bit.
You just lower, yeah.
Look at what stage acting can do for you on film. Look at how much better your characters are. Look at how much better you perform. The relationship between the characters, the chemistry you have, the way you use the dialogue. It's just like, that's the perfect thing to be like, and that's how you transition into film, and that's perfect. I think that's something you show. I think this is a great thing to show filmmakers. Look what they do with as few sets as possible. It all takes place in a room, and it's still captivating. It's still awesome.
I think to your point about the filmmakers, I think modern filmmakers, not all, some, most, all. No, I'm just kidding. They have the camera and they have the tools and they feel like they need to use them. And I think there should be some kind of belief in yourself that you can put the camera and you can move the camera, but you can't have a 10 to 15 minute scene where it's just dialogue and you're just following organically with the camera, whether you're moving it on a dolly, whether you have it on a steady cam, or whether you just have it still. I mean, you let your actors perform.
Yep.
If the script does its job and it's a great script, which I would hope you're doing this movie because you really like the script and it's really done well, people will sit there and watch it and listen to it. I mean, they just will. But I think when filmmakers have a camera and they have all these tools and tricks they want to use, they feel like they need to use them in order to validate themselves as a director or validate themselves as a filmmaker. And I'm here to tell you, you don't need to. Knowing not to use all that stuff helps.
Well, that's what you say on the cast all the time. You talk about, Spielberg and Scorsese. You really want to see them do a, $2 million budget movie and just be like, all right, let's see if you still got what it takes.
Absolutely. I think they do. I think they would absolutely. I mean, I don't know if they'd want to, but that I would, if you were somebody who owned a production company and you had 20 million to play with, wouldn't that be an awesome thing to go to them, to pick out 10 directors that you really love and that really do a lot of work, and you say, I'm going to give you $2 million. That's all you get. Make me a movie.
Yeah. I mean, I would wonder if they would maybe be interested in maybe a short film.
Make anything you want.
Do a short film collection of all these guys doing a really low budget short films.
I mean, that'd be something. That'd be very interesting. I mean, because make me a movie like pretend you don't have any money. Pretend you're an independent filmmaker and you're coming up. Show me what you got.
Yep.
Why not? It's such a challenge. It'd be very interesting. I'd be very interested to see that. It's never going to happen, but so kind of to give you a little bit more background in terms of, because I told you I was going to get to a lot of facts that were in here that I couldn't get to. So the producer, Paul Monash, who I mentioned, he produced, Big Trouble in Little China, Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid, amongst other things. He actually is an uncredited writer for On Touch of Evil, the Orson Welles movie, which I thought was interesting. Winters, the editor of this movie, because I gave you Winters all the movies that he was nominated for, and you might not have heard some of those. I'm sure you heard of Ben-Hur, Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, but he also edited A Shot in the Dark, The Pink Panther, Cutthroat Island, the Thomas Crown Affair, the 1968 version, and King Kong, the 1976 version. And then I mentioned before that Jack Lemmon was nominated for 8 Oscars and won 2. And I went through the movies that some of the movies he was in. I wanted to give you some of the other movies, which was Missing, Tribute. These are the movies he was nominated for. Missing, Tribute, The China Syndrome, which we should put on the list. Days of Wine and Roses, The Apartment, and Some Like It Hot. So, I don't know. Just wanted to throw that out there. Some more facts.
A lot of facts.
I do, because when we do the older movies, like I said before at the start, I'm very interested in just who's worked on what and where they're from, and because you don't realize one of the things that, and I didn't list all the cast. I didn't list every single. I felt like I did, but I didn't list every single member of the press tour, because some of them didn't really go on to do a lot of other things you wouldn't know about. And, but a ton of these people were in Golden Girls episodes, which it makes sense because as you get older, there's not many roles out there. This is in the 80s. 80s? Yeah. There's not many roles out there for people. So you can understand why they gravitate towards TV, because there's tons of roles on TV to do. But like the Golden Girls was such a huge phenomenon, and it was obviously people that were older. So there was a need for older cast members. So it's just funny to see all these people here. I mean, there's probably tons of people that were guest starred on the Golden Girls that were very busy in the 70s. Do you know what I mean? In the 60s in terms of doing movie work. I like when we do older movies, because it's just, I don't know. I don't want to think back on older films in a romantic way in terms of like, oh, they're so perfect because they're older. And
oh no,
there are flawed older films. But this movie in particular I had seen this movie a long time ago, and I always liked this movie. I always liked the dialogue, with the same stuff that you liked. I liked, and when we started doing this, this was a fairly new addition to the list.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
And then as soon as I did, I was like, I really want to do this movie. So and that happens. So I don't know. It's just, to your point, I would recommend anybody that's a writer should watch this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I would still add on to that. You should watch a lot of Billy Wilder movies, because you will learn a lot from that.
If you look at the amount of screenplays he's written, it is ridiculous. He just writes and writes and writes and writes and writes.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, was it Hecht who was known as, I think it was Ben Hecht who is known. Yes, Ben Hecht is known as he wrote all these and wrote plays, but he is known as somebody who he's an uncredited rewriter. Like, he will do rewrites on movies. Script doctor. Yes, I couldn't even think of the name. Thanks. He actually script doctored. They paid him $10,000 back then. I don't know if you want to do your math in terms of
in the 70s.
And no, this is in 19. You know what? Let me find that out.
Oh, and he wrote it around the time.
This is in the 30s.
Okay.
38 maybe? Might be 39. So he was paid $10,000 to script doctor Gone with the Wind. Never got a credit for it. And Gone, I think it's 39, right? Gone with the Wind was 39, right? Yeah, whatever. That movie beat out his movie Wuthering Heights for the writing Oscar, even though he wrote most of Gone with the Wind, even though he did he is known as a script doctor who works fast and works well. But that's something to be said about somebody who works fast. I mean, you can make a lot of money in Hollywood script doctoring. You make a lot of money to do what you do best and not get any credit for it, but you can make a ton of money on that.
Yep.
Because you're somebody that can fix the problem that the script has.
The other thing with like some writers in Hollywood seem like they take forever to write a script. It's like, oh yeah, my second draft is due in 4 months. It's like, what?
Yeah, I know.
Sit down and write.
Yeah. Oh, if that was my job, which I would love to have it be someday, but if that was my job where I was a writer, that's all. I mean, I get it. Some people just don't are wired like that, you know.
Like George R.R. Martin.
Yeah, oh, Christ.
How do you finish novel? Like, that's what he asked Stephen King at a round table. How do you finish so many books? I write.
Yeah, well, Stephen King, it's a job. Stephen gets up, he goes to his office, he writes for 8 hours, and it's like a job. Yeah. That's what you have to do. You can't sit around. I'm not going to say who, but how many times have I had people come up to like, oh, you wrote that? I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not easy to write. You have to sit your butt down and write. And a lot of the stuff you write is trash. It's absolute garbage that you just were like, but you just get it on the page. But there's always people that'll come up to me like, I just need to find like the right inspiration or I got to find the right place to sit. I had someone tell me I got to find the right location in my house to sit and write. It's like, and I want to be like, you're never going to write. You're just, and if you're waiting for divine intervention or some kind of inspiration for you to write, it's never going to happen. You have to write. Even when you don't want to write, you have to write. That's the only way to do it. It's a creative art, and you're building something, and it is artistry. It is also it's craftsmanship, but it's also a job, and you got to treat it like that.
Yeah. So $10,000 is worth $183,759.57.
Could you imagine getting paid $200K to rewrite something? And I would script doctor out my ass.
I just need you to punch it up a little bit.
That's fine. $200K, boom. Let's go.
That's what Carrie Fisher did in the 80s and 90s.
Yep.
No credit. Just, Hey,
Well,
Kara, can you do this?
I know you're not a big fan of Dabla Cody, but that's what she does. She's
I
a
know
big
she
time
does a
script
lot of
doctor.
script
And
doctoring.
so John Sayles was a huge script doctor, and and then every once in a while he'll come out with his own movies, and they're good, but they're always like low independent. But he made all his money just writing scripts, rewriting scripts, and stuff like that.
What were we doing? Oh, Diablo Cody did Evil Dead when we were talking about Evil Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she made money.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm respecting the game there. I'm respecting somebody, finding a niche, finding a niche and running with it.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah. But and this is all sparked off of Ben Hecht being a script doctor who works fast and works well. But you can tell, I mean, you just got to get it on the page at this point. But I would recommend this to people I would recommend this to writers. Absolutely. Any kind of writer.
Sure.
And to show, like, look what you can do with dialogue. That's the one thing I don't read a lot of books. I read my fair share. I wouldn't say that I'm like,
an avid reader.
No, I'm not. I can't. I'm so doing a bunch of stuff, so it does take me a while sometimes to get through a book.
Mm.
But I will tell you that I find that dialogue in some of the books that I read, even though I like the books, the dialogue is terrible. Like I'll sometimes, fun fact, when I'm reading a book, sometimes I'll say the dialogue out loud just to kind of get a sense for like I don't know, just
how the voices and stuff.
Yeah, while I'm reading it, I won't necessarily read like Jim said, but I'll read his dialogue and then I'll just kind of read it. I'll just go through it, just kind of going back and forth to do the conversation.
Right.
And it doesn't flow. And that's just I think shows you, like, on the page it must look better, but when you adapt a book or when it's something on screen or when you're trying to say it out loud, it just doesn't work and it doesn't ring true. And for me, I'll notice that when I'm reading something, and it kind of takes me out a little bit.
Well, let me ask you this, because I do it when I'm writing when I write screenplays. Do you say your dialogue as you're writing it, or right before you write it, to make sure like that it at least sounds kind of okay?
No, I will do that when I write a script, I'll finish the script. Just whatever, just getting it down, getting the first rough draft down.
Right.
I'll do several passes through. Everyone's like, "Oh, you have to rewrite and rewrite." Yeah, you do. But I do specific passes through a script. So I'll go do a pass through for plot. Just an overall, like, okay, let's make sure everything makes sense.
Yeah.
I'll do a pass on character arcs. So make sure, like, if everyone, like even supporting characters, make sure that they have an arc that makes sense, or a big arc, I'm able to tie it up. But I'll also do a dialogue pass, and in the dialogue pass, I'm saying it out loud just to see how it flows, just to see if it makes sense. But even then, even stuff that gets by me, and we've done it, we've worked on stuff that I've written where we're shooting the scene, and it's tough to get out for an actor, and I'm like, just make it your own. You know what I mean? There's nothing in there that you need to specifically say, like you need to say, get to the watchtower kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I'd rather it sound like it's you or the character rather than you trying to get this out the best way. I mean, certain directors can do that, like the Coen brothers. I know they have a certain way how people should say stuff. I get that. I guess it would depend on the script, but no, I'm always trying to make sure it sounds as natural as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Back to the movie. I really do like the opening of the film with the newspaper.
Oh, when they're putting it together?
Yeah, they're putting it
nice.
together. It's really cool. And seeing the print and the font, all the work that goes into putting it all together.
Can you imagine?
It's awesome.
Can you imagine making a mistake?
It's done. You're screwed.
Yeah.
Putting all the print together, putting the letters together, the stamps for each individual letter.
I know.
It's crazy. And it's awesome. And there's something to be said about movies with great opening sequences. Like that's an art that not a lot of directors or filmmakers have anymore, or even back then. It's a very rare thing to be really good at making an opening credit sequence.
They don't have them. There's not that many.
Not
now.
as many anymore.
You do. You always have the Bond one.
Yep. Do you know who's really good? Zack Snyder's actually surprisingly good at opening sequences.
Well, you're talking about Watchmen.
Yeah.
Oh, well, then what about the other ones?
I believe Batman vs Superman had a pretty good opening sequence.
Did that have to do explanation stuff too?
I don't remember. I have to watch it again. And I think there was a donor that did the mall one. Yeah, that had a decent.
That was it. That was talking about like
the infection and stuff spreading and stuff like that. But it's really a lost art of being able to make something like you're watching an opening credit. You're not just sitting there going, when does it end? When does it end? Like an opening credit sequence that you are watching the names. You're not realizing that you're looking at these names popping up, but you're also watching and interested in the opening credit sequence instead of slogging through it waiting for the movie to start.
Well, most opening credit sequence, I guess, from the 70s and back are to obviously introduce all the characters. That's a big thing. But now they just start the movies usually.
Well, back then you also had to put your credits up front.
Yeah.
And now
It's kind of you
it's
don't
kind of
have
you
to.
don't have to.
Yeah.
and that's kind of because of George Lucas and his fights with the studios about that.
The one credit I don't like, not in this movie, but in movies in general, is when somebody puts their ad at a Michael Field film, like that stuff. I hate that because it's not.
Well, this is in here too,
I know.
which is a weird one because they call it. It's my first note in a Billy Wilder film of.
Yeah,
I've
That's-
never seen that before.
that's something that he negotiated.
But instead of a Billy Wilder film, it's a Billy Wilder film of
The front page.
the front page.
Yeah.
And the of was just really threw me off. I
Yeah.
was like, I've never seen that.
I'm not a fan of that because it assumes ownership of the entire movie, and you're not the only.
Village.
I listen. I understand the hierarchy of being on set. I've done it, and I get that. And the director should be the person in charge. There should be one person that has final say, but he's not the person that's making every single. He or she is not making every single decision. So it takes a lot of people to make a really good movie, and I've never liked that credit. I don't ever want that credit. Watch me have that credit, like, but I've never liked that credit. Hey, Mo, did you see that?
Hey, Field. I'm gonna go back to our. Remember 5 years ago when we were doing the front page.
Boom.
Boom. What about films like Quentin Tarantino, Steven Spielberg, names that are really big?
They don't.
Billy
have-
Wilder back then is really.
I know
big.
that on the posters it says a Steven Spielberg film. I
Yeah.
get it. I understand why it's there. It's there to promote. Fine. I just don't prefer it. I understand its reasoning for there, and I know that
Right.
it's obviously it's something that's negotiated in the contract, and I'm sure it's something that's has to do with the Directors Guild as well.
Right.
You need to put. Okay, fine. That's fine. Whatever. I just don't prefer it. I mean, just because this is why it here, Mike, and we fought for this. That's great. I don't like it. I don't prefer it. That's
Yeah.
all. That's all. Just my preference.
Yeah.
So can I wrap it up now? I'm just kidding. I mean, I can keep talking about the movie, but it's just going to turn into me,
No, all of my other notes are just notes about how like different dialogue
Okay,
stuff that I like.
well, how
But,
about this?
I mean, I will say we didn't really talk about Earl. I like Earl a lot.
Well, I was going to ask you. Other than Lemmon and Matthau, who else stood out for you? So
Earl-
you're saying Pendleton? Okay.
Earl's really good. Yeah, Pendleton when he's doing his interview with the shrink,
Yeah.
his lines are really snappy. They're really, really
The
good.
Shrink is also not from the movie.
Oh, really?
No, excuse me, not from the play. He's mentioned in the play, but he's not from the play. They put him in this movie. Yeah,
Because that
the
dialogue
Freudian
is really
logic is
good.
great. Yeah.
Were you happy as a child? No, I had a perfectly normal childhood. I thought that was really good. They should all go. All these Bolsheviks should go back where they come from. I'm from Fargo, North Dakota. I don't know how you feel about Wall Street, but I put a bomb in it.
Even back then, nobody liked Wall Street.
Yep.
Well, this is before if this took place in June of 29, when was the crash?
September.
Okay, so this is
We're
before the
right
crash,
right
which is
before,
interesting.
yeah.
Which is interesting. They make reference to a couple things. You know what? I'm thinking they probably made reference. That's probably why that's in there to make reference to the crash. But
Mhm.
they also make reference to the Scopes trial.
Yep.
Because he was like, "You had me down there when he's complaining to me the goddamn monkey trial." And I don't know if people know about the Scopes trial, but you should. It's he was teaching. The teacher's name is Scopes. He was teaching evolution in the classroom, and that's forbidden. It's all about Adam and Eve, and huge trial, big time trial that kind of changed the face of
Education.
yeah. But I thought that was interesting. And they also reference His Girl Friday at the end credits when they talk about how Hildy. So they have the scroll going up, and when he gives the line, "Son of a bitch stole my watch," you learn about what happened to everybody, and Hildy actually gets arrested and comes back and takes over as managing editor. And then they talk about Peggy, which is Susan Sarandon's character. She goes on and she meets somebody and they marry, and they name their first daughter Hildy, which is supposed to be a kind of a reference to His Girl Friday, because
Okay.
that's So I thought that was interesting too.
Interesting.
Yeah, you like that? You like that?
So maybe His Girl Friday is actually a sequel.
No.
It
It was 30 years before.
They all exist in a shared universe.
Yeah, it is. It's shared, absolutely. So the Snyder cut of His Girl Friday is going to come out,
It's 4 hours long.
and I think you find out that Walter and Hildy have their mother has the same name as Martha.
Save
And,
Martha.
then, and it's actually Cyborg getting executed because I don't know. Because he's a Bolshevik. Oh, that's his Girl Friday. Snyder Cut. Hallelujah. That's actually out now, right? It's the ones that come out.
The Snyder Cut
Yeah.
next year.
Oh, next year.
Yeah.
I thought it was this year.
Yeah.
No, I've already forgotten about it. Moving on.
They won't let you forget about it.
No, I don't want to talk about the Snyder Cut while we're doing front page because that's just a slap in the face at the front page.
You brought it up.
I know I did. It's my fault. Well, Butler, then why would you think it's forgotten? Is this forgotten?
I think it's forgotten. I had never even heard of it.
There you go.
And here's why. Billy Wilder is such an accomplished director with such a huge list of credits. And I'm not saying this movie's up there. This movie's just as good as those other movies.
Absolutely.
I really like this. But when you think of Billy Wilder, most people think of Some Like It Hot.
Yep. And that's like good, but it's not anywhere near like the accomplishments of him.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like there's so many other movies. And then when you talk about Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau, Grumpy Old Men, you got The Odd Couple. Probably The Odd Couple. Well, modern audience, maybe Grumpy Old Men is what they know. But then if you're looking back, people are going to think The Odd Couple.
The original, yep.
And it's just these movies are bigger than them almost.
Yep.
To the point where now you don't look at the rest of their work or they're not known for the rest of the work.
Right.
So it's hidden behind these, like a wall, like this great wall of these awesome works. They're just hiding all these other awesome things that they've done. Like Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau worked together 11 times.
Yep.
But you really just know Grumpy Old Men and Odd Couple.
Which is unfortunate, especially in terms of Billy Wilder. Like I mentioned before, like you should look up Billy if you're filming, if you're into film. I don't know if you like this movie or you like Some Like It Hot, you really should check out a lot of his other stuff because I will tell you right now, Double Indemnity is something you should watch. Sunset Boulevard is something you should watch. The Lost Weekend is something you should watch. These movies are great. And, they're obviously of the time. So they might not, if you're expecting a modern telling of a movie, you're not going to.
Well, what I like about Billy Wilder films is they are kind of the time, but he directs in a more quick motion, like a quick way.
Right.
He doesn't direct or hold camera in a way that bores you, I feel. And he sets up shots in a way that makes it watchable. Like Some Like It Hot, even today, is entirely watchable for the most part because it's not filmed like a movie from the 50s. It's not your typical 1950s movie. It really is this quick cuts, quick jumps, quick jokes. It's a really nice the way his movies move, which is good.
He also does in-camera editing. So he cuts in camera when filming. Do you know what that means? So when he records, he cuts. They go to the next scene. They don't go back and do the scene over. They go, okay, let's moving on. And he does the entire scene so it's on one strip of film. So this edit took 4 days. The rough cut of this edit took 4 days because he cuts it in camera. Now he may go back and redo the entire scene again.
Right.
Which, to be fair, a movie like this, you can because it's pretty much a stage play. So everybody knows their lines. So it's easier to do that way. But he does not. Okay, let's go again. No, he just goes straight through. Which, I would like to do a movie like that. I'd love to see how fast we could run with that.
Be interesting. It'd be all about rehearsals.
It would all about rehearsals, and it would be all about finding actors that have major stage work. You know what I mean? Like that.
You can't get film only actors.
No,
I have to memorize how many pages?
Screw that.
All the pages.
Exactly.
Asshole. All the pages.
Honestly, this is the craft. Why wouldn't you want to dive into this?
Yeah, I don't get actors who don't have their lines memorized for film work
because they're not in it for acting.
Right.
They're in it for something else.
It's just,
and they can be good at what they do, but
Yeah.
they're not in it for the reason maybe that you would be in it, or somebody like Al Pacino would be in it when he comes onto the stage, or people that are stage that you get into acting to play pretend, yes, but it's also to play pretend with characters to find, things you love about yourself within
Right.
characters, things you love about characters within yourself. Like that's the whole idea. But if you're in it just to be in movies, to be a movie star, to be this, you might find major success, but that's not really what I would look for in terms of wanting to.
it's not how the greats do it. Yeah.
Correct. I mean, and but you don't have to be a great. That's the best thing. You
Yeah.
can be whatever you want. But if you want to be something if somebody comes up to me and compares, let's say, I'm not going to say anybody off the top of my head, but just a mediocre actor. Let's just say that. Some random movie star actor. And he's like, oh, he's just like Jack Lemmon. He's like, no, stop. He's not. Because that's somebody who is the pinnacle of your profession. And you shouldn't, if you even want to be on his level, you would never consider yourself like that. You know what I mean? You would just kind of, it's nice. Best. Right. Yeah. Right. But I think there's far more people that are back in the 60s or 50s for like older actors now, but who came up. There are far more people that are more established and accomplished back then than there are now. I think not enough people come from the stage now. I don't know how you feel about that.
Well, I think that's true.
I don't know. Maybe people just don't want to make the transition, or
yeah. And I don't even know if it's necessarily they don't come from stage, but they don't come from a point of really trying to grasp their character, really putting in the work. Maybe
I get that.
Like I know that, like Robert Downey Jr. He was in this small independent movie with this kid right after Iron Man, and they were doing interviews. I can't remember the movie, but basically the kid asked Robert Downey Jr. for advice, and Robert Downey Jr.'s advice was read the script. Yeah. Then when you're done filming for the day, read the script again and read the script again. Before you even start you should read that script, have read that script 100 times before you start day one filming the thing. And I always took that as like, that's really good advice. I'm like, wow. Mm-hmm. That's a guy that makes, he made Iron Man. He made like $1 bajillion, mm-hmm. but he's still putting in that work with his character.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to do. You look at, like we said, Gyllenhaal. We look at, I mean, I don't like him, but what's his name from Gangs of New York?
DiCaprio?
No, the
Daniel Day-Lewis? You don't like Daniel Day-Lewis?
No, I told you because he's an asshole. I don't like his method, but he puts in the work.
He's not an asshole. In real life? No way. What, did you hear something? He beat a puppy up or something?
Just the way he talks. He seems snooty, but that's fine.
He's good. Come on, dude. He goes and learns Phantom Thread. Phantom Thread. He went and learned how to be a dressmaker.
I don't like him, but he puts in the work. And that's what you have to, like, maybe don't go as far as that, but that's still someone who puts in the work.
Right.
And that's what you have to do.
See, I understand what you're saying.
It is, whatever your work is, whether it's reading the script 100 times, going and learning to be that person, but no matter what, they're putting hours and hours and hours of preparation into their characters.
Sure.
You got to do character work.
Yeah. I can't believe you don't like Daniel Day-Lewis.
We've talked about this before.
We have?
Yes. I don't agree with his method. I'm not saying he's a bad actor at all. He's a fantastic actor.
Well, it doesn't work for you. Like that method doesn't work for you.
Don't go around punching people on set, dude.
Who did he punch on set?
On Gangs of New York. He's trying to fight with everybody.
Well, that was Bill the Butcher.
Oh my god.
I don't care. I'm sure he wasn't really trying to beat people up. I'm sure it was, come on.
I don't know.
I have to really. God, he's really good though. What about Russell Crowe? What about Russell Crowe? Does that Russell Crowe's intense?
Oh, Russell Crowe's just mean.
That's all right too.
Throwing phones at people.
Sometimes
on set, I don't know if he's actually, mean.
Because we've talked about people that are intense, in terms of their acting style.
Right.
Who was the other person we were talking about? Oh, Edward Norton.
Oh yeah, Edward Norton.
Yeah,
gets in there. Yeah.
So what? Listen, I think that. I'm trying to think. I don't have a problem with it. I mean, obviously, I don't want to punch people in the face, but I mean, that would make me feel like he's really trying. I got to really try. You know what I mean? If I was an actor or if I was a director on the set, and I'm like, well, look how much he's doing. You know what? I got to make sure that I'm on point. Wouldn't that make you feel that way? No, if you were working alongside him, would it intimidate you in that regard? Do you think that would intimidate you where you wouldn't be able to do your performance?
I think he'd be hard to work with.
Yeah.
But I would try to up my game, if not only to show him that you don't have to be.
Let's say this. Let's say you're the Paul Dano character in There Will Be Blood.
Okay.
And he's the way he is.
Mm-hmm.
Would you lean into that feeling of being intimidated by him for the performance?
Well, I feel like I'd have to.
Yeah.
I'd probably have to be that character as well on set.
Right.
It's probably something he requests. But I would also feel like I would need to elevate my performance, if not only to show him that you don't have to be quite the psychopath.
Okay.
Like he is.
And he might respect that.
Exactly. That's fine.
Come on. You would love to work with Danny Day-Lewis. Come on. Call him up. Get him on the phone.
That's like as much as like if I don't like a director, but you would be in his movie. Like if you Bowl called me and was like, I want you in
Oh no,
Dungeons and Dragons
because
5.
you're in a position where you
I'd be
can say
like,
no.
Yeah,
I know you're in a position. No, obviously.
but
All right, that's fine. I
yeah,
get you.
mean, it's something I would absolutely learn from him. I would maybe not go as far as him, but there's stuff to learn from his acting method, and I think that regardless of how he thinks he needs to get there, he is still acting in the end.
Sure.
And you can still learn what he's doing when he's actually acting.
Well, how about this though? For him, maybe that's the only way that he can truly get to the type of performance he wants is if he does it that way. Do you respect that way, that thinking?
I still think he's crazy, but yes. But I still think at the end of the day, what he's going to end up getting to is this professional pretending that
Okay.
that's when you can start borrowing from.
New question. What if you find out that Jack Lemmon is just the same way as Danny Day-Lewis when he does? Would that make you not like Jack Lemmon in movies now?
No, I would still think he was a fantastic actor, but yeah, I'd be like, he's kind of
See,
an
exactly.
ass.
See, there you.
But I still think he was an ass then.
He's not though. I
don't believe he is.
I actually don't even know what his acting kind of method was in terms of. I would assume it's a lot of rehearsal and shit
I
like
think
that.
so,
Yeah.
If he's a stage actor.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I know this. We got off topic because we were talking about why it's forgotten. I think it's forgotten because it's an older film. I mean, we say this all the time. It's 45 years old, 46 years old.
46, yep.
So I mean, it's almost 50 years old. It's these movies are going to get forgotten. We had to rent it, right? Well,
Yep.
it's
it's
only
on-
for rent on Amazon.
No, it was on Peacock. You have to get the Peacock.
So
the Peacock Prime or Premium or whatever.
I'm surprised. I really wish a lot of movies were a little bit more. It's Universal, so that makes sense. That makes sense because it's Universal.
Right.
But it's definitely a movie that I think people that love dialogue, that love movies that takes place in the 20s, or maybe they loved His Girl Friday when they saw it. I think it's definitely not a movie that I would recommend to somebody who just loves Marvel movies and stuff like that. You know, I don't think they could appreciate like action movies or superhero movies.
I don't think 95% of the movies on our list you could recommend.
Which I like. That's why I like our
Marvel
list.
movies.
That's why I like our list. There's other movies out there other than
That's
big
the reason
tentpole
we're doing
movies.
this, yeah.
Exactly. All right, so join us next week because I just mentioned Russell Crowe. We're actually going to be doing a movie that I have not seen in quite some. I think I only saw it in the theater, and I've seen pieces of it on HBO and stuff like that, but I never watched it all the way through just because I know it's such a long movie. We're doing Master and Commander: The Far Side of the World, 2003 movie with Russell Crowe and Paul Bettany, and who else? That's the only two I remember.
That's the only two I remember. I'm the one that put this on the list. I don't remember a lot about the movie.
You don't remember why you put on the
I don't
list?
remember all the characters. I do remember the plot of the movie and a lot of movie. I know why I put this on the list. I really like this movie.
Well, because I think when people talk about Russell Crowe, they talk about Gladiator. You know, like when Russell for Beautiful Mind, obviously, because he won LA Confidential, which is awesome, and he's awesome in it. But Master Commander is an accomplished film, but it doesn't really get a lot. I think probably because it's it's a period piece.
Yeah, I know why it's forgotten.
It's why
It's boring. But
oh,
I love it.
I don't want to watch a boring movie.
I'm sorry.
Great. I don't think it's boring. We'll
I don't think it's boring.
they got that whole thing about weevils in it.
If you enjoy the subject matter, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
And I think
Who wouldn't?
the history lover in me really likes this movie.
Who Peter Hyams directed this movie? Can't remember who directed this movie. Well, you know what?
We'll find out next
Stay
week.
tuned next week. It's not Peter Hyams. It's somebody else. Stay tuned next week, and I'll correct myself. Yeah, I guess that's it. Thanks. Watch the front page, guys. It's great.
And if you like our podcast, please feel free to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you're listening to us. If you want to let people know where to find us, you can find us at ForgottenCinemaPodcast.com or ForgottenEntertainment.com. You can find us there as well, part of the Forgotten Entertainment family. Reach out to us on social media, Forgotten Cinema. We put out commercials every week. Let us know in the comments what you think of the front page or what movies you'd like us to do. We'll put them on the list. We'll do them at some point. We always like to have a dialogue about movies. That's what we're here for. And yeah.
That's it. Next week, Master and Commander, Far Side of the World. I'm Mike Field.
I'm Mike Butler.
And this has been Forgotten Cinema.